Bernard Michael Oliver, 1950 January 1967, was a 17-year-old warehouse worker from Muswell Hill, North London. Oliver disappeared on 6 January 1967, and his remains were found 10 days later in the village of Tattingstone, Suffolk. His body had been cut into 8 pieces and left in 2 suitcases. For this reason, the crime is sometimes referred to as the Tattingstone Suitcase Murder. The case received widespread media attention, partly because police, unable to identify the body, took the unusual step of releasing a photograph of the victim's head to the media. The murder remains unsolved. Disappearance and Murder. On 6 January 1967, Oliver did not return home after spending the evening with friends, and was reported missing by his father the following morning. On 16 January 1967, farm worker Fred Berge discovered human remains in 2 suitcases left behind a hedge in a field near the village of Tattingstone. It was believed that the murder had occurred around 48 hours before the discovery of the body. Post-mortem tests showed that Oliver had been sexually assaulted, and had died from strangulation before his body was dismembered. Unable to determine the identity of the victim, police took the unusual step of releasing a photograph of the victim's head to the media. Oliver's family contacted the police after seeing the photograph. Investigation. The police investigation was initially headed by Detective Superintendent Tom Tarling of East Suffolk Police, before being taken over by Detective Superintendent Harry Tappin of Scotland Yard. The location of the murder has never been identified, although police believed that the murder and dismemberment had taken place in Suffolk. Following the murder, witnesses reported sightings of Oliver in and around the Muswell Hill area in the time between his disappearance and the discovery of the body. In Tattingstone, a witness said she saw a man who was middle-aged and wearing a dark trilby and a long trench coat, walking in the direction of Tattingstone on the Harwich Road, carrying a suitcase. On the night the suitcases were left, several pieces of physical evidence were recovered. One of the 2 suitcases used to contain Oliver's remains bore the initials P.V.A. Quote, the laundry mark QL42 was also found on a hand towel inside one of the 2 suitcases. A matchbox found in the pocket of Oliver's jacket was from a brand of matches marketed in Israel. The investigation was reopened in 1977. In 2012, a man reported seeing 2 unattended suitcases and a man wearing medical gloves in the Ipswich Docks area days before Bernard Oliver's body was discovered. Suspects. Documents released under the Freedom of Information Act 2000 in 2004 revealed that the prime suspects in the Bernard Oliver murder were 2 medical doctors, Martin Reddington and John Biles. Martin Bruce Reddington, the 26th of June 1931 May 1995, had a surgery in Muswell Hill. In 1965, a warrant had been issued for Reddington's arrest on charges of buggery and indecent assault of males. However, before inquiries could be completed, he left the UK for South Africa. Reddington made a number of return visits to the United Kingdom, but no evidence has been found placing him in the vicinity of the murder. In 1977, a private investigator claimed to recognize the suitcase with the initials P.V.A. on its side as belonging to 3 men who used a laundrette in Muswell Hill, one of whom was Martin Reddington. Reddington was never interviewed in connection with the offense, and it was decided there was insufficient evidence to extradite him from Australia. In 1977, Reddington was charged in Sydney, Australia with committing an indecent assault on a male. He died in May 1995, aged 63. John Russell Biles, January 27, 1933 to 19 January 1975. was acquitted along with another man in November 1963 of assaulting a 16-year-old male at their flat in Earls Court, London. Byles left the UK for Australia in the early 1970s when inquiries began into the sexual abuse of boys aged between 9 and 14 in Huddersfield. On 17 December 1974, Byles was arrested in Sydney, Australia in relation to an alleged indecent assault on a boy, but absconded on $2,000 bail. His body was found in a room of the Prince of Wales Hotel in Proserpine, Queensland on 19 January 1975. He left 2 suicide notes, one addressed to Scotland Yard, the other to Martin Reddington. The note to the police contained an apology for his actions, but no direct reference was made to the Tattingstone murder. Reddington and Byles are also said to have been suspects in the murder of a boy in London in 1973, following an apparent homosexual relationship. Joe Meek, 5 April 1929 to 3 February 1967, was a record producer and songwriter who ran a recording studio at 304 Holloway Road, Islington, in North London. Police in the Bernard Oliver murder investigation announced their intention to interview all of the homosexual men in London. This would have included Meek, following a 1963 conviction for importuning for immoral purposes in a public toilet. Some accounts claim that Meek was afraid of being questioned. It was rumored that Oliver had worked as a tape stacker in Meek's studio. On 3 February 1967, Meek killed himself after killing his landlady, Violet Shenton. Reginald Cray, 24 October 1933 to 1 October 2000, was a gangster from the East End of London, sentenced to life imprisonment along with his brother Ronald in 1969 for the murders of George Cornell and Jack McVitie. In September 2000, Cray confessed to a previously unknown murder while being interviewed for the BBC documentary Reggie Cray, The Final Word. A former cellmate of Cray's, Pete Gillett, claimed that Cray had also confessed the murder to him, and that the victim was a young gay boy. It has been suggested that this is a reference to Bernard Oliver's murder, although the confession is widely believed to relate to the disappearance of Edward "Mad Teddy" Smith in 1967. The Cray brothers were sent to Suffolk as evacuees during the Second World War, and bought a house at Bilderston, around 20 kilometers from Tattingstone, in 1968. In popular culture, the murder of Bernard Oliver forms part of the background to the 1999 novel The Long Firm, by J. Carnot. References